If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Welcome to this 10th episode of the Spidey cast. And we don't have a green screen behind us. We're not doing a retrospective. Even though I do enjoy using the green screen because I can throw gameplay footage in the background. But for this, we're kind of going for the more personal, in the real world style that I did from the beginning of when I started showing video on the podcast. But I want to mourn these dead franchises I have here. I have a list here of franchises that I absolutely love that they've kind of buried into the ground. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Arkham. I feel like Arkham doesn't really need an introduction. I mean, it's the most iconic Batman video game trilogy to ever exist. It might be the only Batman video game trilogy to ever exist. Though I do like Batman Begins and the older Batman games, some of them. I still need to play Batman Vengeance, but Arkham Asylum, it is the best superhero game of all time to me, bar none. Not Arkham City, not Arkham Origins, not Arkham Knight, not Arkham Shadow. None of those games are the best Arkham game, in my opinion. It's Arkham Asylum. The atmosphere is amazing. It's terrifying. You're trapped in a mental asylum with a bunch of crazed psychopaths that try to murder you at every corner. You know, you can tell the staff is underqualified to handle all these nutcases, and you can feel the terror and the tension in the atmosphere as the cops and doctors are being like interrogated and brutally murdered left and right. You got Kevin Conroy as Batman, iconic Batman voice. You got Mark Hamill as Joker, definitive versions of the character, I'd say. And then you've also got a stellar supporting cast, too. But the combat, free flow combat, is, to this day, specifically Arkham Asylum's version, is my favorite of all the combat systems in the series. There's no bells and whistles or fancy stuff that the later games added. It's just what it is, you know. It's what you get in the game as it is. It's the most simple version of it, most pure. You got those classic gadget takedown moves with a bat claw where you pull a guy in and knock him over. Explosive gel, which makes guys fly around, and the combos flow from one end to the next like butter. It's very smooth and intuitive. Countering is really awesome looking. There's very flashy animations you get from that. Once your combo meter goes up, you can do some flashy counters and flashy finishers like breaking people's arms and legs. You can throw them off of ledges. All the gadgets can be used in the combat, you know, very smoothly and effortlessly. You can use the bat claw to pull a guy in. You can use your cape to stun a guy. You can throw a batarang at a dude to stun him as well. Sometimes 3, sometimes 2 batarangs during combat. Then you have stealth. Stealth in Arkham Asylum is amazing. You can pull guys down from rafters with a bat claw and make them scream. You can hang guys up on gargoyles. You grapple from gargoyle to get away from people and kind of assess the situation in the room. You turn on detective mode to see through walls and plan out your attacks. You put explosive gel on walls and blow them up underneath or above thugs to make them fall or get knocked out. It looks like Batman's killing them, but I guess somehow explosive gel is magically non-lethal. But man, it looks lethal to me. The batarangs, you can throw a batarang at a guy to knock him down. Specifically in stealth, in regular combat, it just stuns him. But in stealth, you can knock a guy over, ground take down him. You can go behind bad guys, silent takedown them by covering their mouths so they can't breathe. It's in my opinion, some of the best freaking stealth you'll ever see in a game. You can glide kick guys down from the gargoyles, and it looks so cinematic and epic. Like, this game's amazing, and I'll always remember it fondly. It also had a really good storyline, in my opinion. Some people will say, oh, but Arkham Asylum's story is too simple. It's like a plot out of an episode from the animated series, but darker. Isn't that kind of the point? that it's supposed to be mimicking the animated series. It has the same voice actors, the same tone. Meanwhile, with every other Batman game, Batman acts like an idiot, very inexperienced, like he makes rookie mistakes. Yet in Arkham Asylum, he's so professional that nothing phases him. And that's my kind of Batman. He's got to be experienced, seasoned, and but he also has to have a sense of humor. In the later games, he kind of loses the, not the sense of humor, but more so his compassionate attitude and more nonchalant, chill attitude he had in this game. That's not to say that the other Arkham games have a bad story. In fact, I love every single one of these games. Very, very much. I think they're all amazing, all worth your time. But I feel like the downfall of the Arkham series was obviously the Suicide Squad game. That's the most obvious thing you could point to. The garbage woke stuff, the stupid frickin' disrespect to all the Justice League where they just kill them off one by one, including Batman, in a very humiliating way. Frickin' Harley Quinn shoots him in the head. It's bad. It's bad. The Suicide Squad is not strong enough to take on any of the Justice League members. Even the weakest links, they couldn't win. So, bad game, terrible gameplay. Why is it a live service game? Like, that was such an odd decision with Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. There's a lot of problems with that game, but we're not going to talk about that for the entire podcast. I want to wipe that game from my memory, but that definitely did its fair share of damage to the Arkham franchise's reputation. That did a fair amount of damage to the Arkham franchise's reputation, but Arkham Shadow, that game, I very much like it. You could take the VR out of this game and it would still be a competent Arkham game. I think it's up there with Asylum for me and Origins. I think Night and City are the weaker of the two. But the problem with Arkham Shadow is the fact that it's VR. I love it because it's VR. But the problem is it cuts off a lot of the general audience because VR hasn't exactly taken off in strides that much. So you're already picking another niche platform, kind of like the live service stuff they did with Suicide Squad. It's very niche. It's very, how do I describe it? A risky move. Not everyone's going to be able to afford or want to buy an Oculus Quest. So, very risky move. I'm glad they did it. It did pay off in some ways. It sold quests, and I hope they make a sequel to it. Camouflage did a wonderful job adapting the Arkham elements to VR. Unlike Arkham VR, which was just a really crappy minigame collection cutscene thing. It was very goofy, and it was like a tech demo of sorts for the graphics and the possibility of an Arkham game being on VR, but it was definitely not a good representation, unlike Arkham Shadow. Arkham Shadow is a full Arkham game with a great story, great voice cast, great gameplay, great visuals. Kind of goes back to the linear sections of Arkham Asylum, which I prefer linearity in Arkham games. I'm just being honest. I think when it went open world, Arkham kind of got worse to me, and the open world's kind of empty in my opinion. But besides that, it's just they're picking niche platforms and very niche game types, like live service games, and those games have a very limited shelf life of sorts. So I don't think that was the right decision for Arkham. You know, a lot of the team members of the previous Rocksteady games left, and obviously they rotate throughout the games, but whoever the writers were, you know, they got rid of Paul Dini. That's another thing. Freaking getting rid of Paul Dini in Arkham Knight was the dumbest decision you could ever make. Like, Arkham Knight for me has its moments in the story, but it is nowhere near my favorite. Like I said, Asylum is. I think Paul Dini is a better writer than Sefton Hill. I'm pretty sure he wrote Arkham Knight. The Jason Todd twist is cool. Like, I'm glad Red Hood exists, but everyone predicted it from a mile away. Batman's weirdly depressed when he killed the Joker. Like, it's very odd writing to me. And Dini was kind of doing that, but Batman still kind of lived on in Arkham City and was okay. Like, he wasn't depressed all the time. Him being sad about Joker dying is frankly embarrassing. The whole Joker's blood infects people plot is such a weird idea. It was kind of stupid. It did lead to a funny song with Mark Hamill singing as Joker. That's literally the only benefit you get from that plot line. It was a very odd game. You know, you didn't have any boss fights except for when you were in the Batmobile. It very much felt like a Batmobile, you know, the Batmobile was the center of this game and everything else was kind of an afterthought in some ways. And that's not to discredit the combat or the stealth. They're extremely solid in Arkham Knight. They're very smooth. But the problem is the story was kind of all over the place. The fact that Batman doesn't trust his allies anymore, even though he trusted them, like he learned to trust them in Arkham Origins, and then he forgets to trust them in Arkham Knight after a little bit of tension happens, you know? It's like all of a sudden, and the fact that he puts his utility belt down to go with Scarecrow to save Robin is stupid. You're telling me you couldn't have stealthed your way through there and punched Crane in the face? Like, really? Didn't like Scarecrow that much in Arkham Knight. You know, different voice actor, different feel. In Arkham Asylum, he's a lot crazier to me. Like, he's a lot more psychotic. He's a lot more conniving, more evil looking. He's got like glowy eyes. I'm not a fan of the bland zombie look that they did for Arkham Knight. So Arkham Knight was weird. It was a weird game. It did a lot of disservices to characters like Deathstroke and barely gave anyone a boss fight at all. It's a good game. I'm glad it exists, but I would have liked to have seen Paul Dini's version instead, and I think it would have been better overall. Sefton Hill killed the Arkham series with the Suicide Squad games, and partially Arkham Knight in some ways. Not saying it's not a good game. I like, if you like Arkham Knight, that's perfectly fine. But my goodness, there were so many problems with it, in my opinion. But regardless, Arkham series, I'll miss you. You gave me a lot of good memories. You redefined what superhero games could be, even though I liked superhero games from the beginning of time. But goodbye, Arkham. Rocksteady killed you. Camouflage is trying to revive you, but in my opinion, it's too late. Marvel's dead. I mean, I've said it in the past, and I'm going to say it again. After Endgame, they had no idea what they were doing or any plan for the future. First off, Hitman, Quantumania, Doctor Strange 2, The Marvels, Captain America, Brave New World, all that stuff. That's just shovelware crap. I'm just being honest. Bucky should have been Captain America because Sam Wilson only met him in Winter Soldier. Bucky knew Cap for way longer, but I've already talked about that. Doctor Strange 2 was a complete mockery of the character. Doctor Strange, it made him useless and weak and pathetic, and it just propped up some random DEI character, America Chavez. It felt like a crappy Disney Channel movie, and it was very underwhelming at best. It killed off Charles Xavier for some reason, even though he could beat Scarlet Witch, in my opinion. The Marvels, I'm not even going to talk about. That's not even worth my time. Shang-Chi, didn't really care. It was kind of a slap in the face that Iron Man didn't get the real Mandarin, but for some reason they're like, let's just throw Iron Man's hand-me-down villains to every other character. Thunderbolts tried. I'll give it that. I gave it a 6.7 out of 10 when I talked about it, and that's okay, but in a series like Marvel, like the MCU that defined my childhood, it feels like they just kind of didn't know where they were going with this movie. There were like two directors. There was one director that wanted to do a Winter Soldier movie with like spy elements and hand-to-hand combat. And there was another who wanted to tell this weird self-introspective story about superpowers and about your mental health. And they both clashed. And they just didn't fit together, in my opinion. They felt like they were very contrasting tones. You could have easily cut out the superhero side, the character Bob, and then just let the movie be what it was. But it had its moments. I like John Walker. He's cool. I like Bucky. Yelena's a pretty good character. Red Guardian's good. But Bob, for me, kind of ruined the movie, to be honest. Spider-Man No Way Home, I would say, is the best movie that came out of this because of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back and being amazing. Tom Holland finally getting some consequences for his actions as Spider-Man. Nothing's going to beat seeing Tobey Maguire be Spider-Man again for me. Like, it was a very emotional experience seeing my boy back in the suit. The villains were very well done, particularly Green Goblin. I enjoyed him a lot in that movie. William Dafoe's always great, but he was even crazier in this movie, weirdly enough. The problem with the MCU right now, and the reason why I think it's dead, is the fact that we had two main characters, Captain America and Iron Man. They very much were. Every single character other than them was completely fodder. They were side characters. I may like Doctor Strange. I may like War Machine and other characters. But in truth, and I love Hulk, but here's the thing. At least I liked Hulk until after Age of Ultron. But I'm going to be honest. It's over. The two characters that were developing, the two characters that had the most conflict and the most rich story were Iron Man and Captain America. That's just the truth. I like Thor. I thought he was a great character. I enjoyed his trilogy, which is controversial to say. The fourth movie's terrible, but it's just very sad. It's sad to see a series that I thoroughly enjoyed go out with such a whimper. And, Fantastic Four, I don't know why you'd pick Fantastic Four to continue the series. Like, I'm not saying it was a box office bomb, but gone are the days of the billion-dollar Marvel movies like Civil War and Endgame and such and such. It's very sad. I loved Marvel. I loved the origin stories. I loved seeing these characters grow and change and become better heroes as the stories went on and learn about loyalty and friendship. But for some reason, now we're just kind of doing nothing. What used to be a series of movies with really good humor, good action, and a lot of character depth just turned into a parody of itself, a complete joke. And my hair looks terrible, but it's very sad. It's sad to see something so massive and so entertaining and so successful become so terrible. But rest in peace, Marvel. I'm sure Stan Lee's rolling around in his grave wondering what the heck they did with his characters and why they're doing failed comic book runs from Ironheart all the way to Captain America Brave New World. It's a mess. And it's never going to come back unless Disney sells the franchise or they reboot. That's just the only way these things are going to succeed. And we'll see how absolutely terrible they'll probably do with X-Men. I love freaking X-Men in a lot of ways. To me, they're better than the Avengers character-wise, and that's a controversial statement, but if you watch the animated series of X-Men and all that, X-Men Evolution, X-Men animated series, Wolverine and the X-Men had its moments. Heck, even with Spider-Man, I'd say in a lot of ways the cartoons were better than the movies, but people rather see things in live action. It's more realistic. And I'm like, I'd rather just see them look like what they were originally supposed to be. Comic books. Comic books don't look like humans, folks. Comic books look like comic books. But I get why people like live action. There are some I like, but animated to me wins in the end. So I feel like Marvel's dead, personally. I as I bury this wonderful franchise, I want to say this. If you like it, that's fine, but I feel like it's never going to be like it used to. So goodbye, Marvel. I miss you, and I'll miss what you did for comics, specifically the MCU, and also the comics too. Now let's talk about one that everybody thinks is dead, including me, Star Wars. The sequels, plus all the Disney Plus shows, killed Star Wars as a whole. Like, every single bit of it was really bad. The sequels in particular kind of set the tone for the rest of the shows that were made under Disney. Force Awakens was a pretty bad A New Hope knockoff. And while I liked Kylo Ren, he got his butt kicked way too easily and way too quickly by Rey. Rey is just this all-powerful character with no problems. You know, she doesn't have any struggles. Meanwhile, Luke, it took him a very long time until Return of the Jedi to actually be able to competently face Darth Vader in a duel. Like, if Luke beat Vader in 2 seconds, that would have been terrible. I don't care if the character is a man or a woman, unless the show or movie is an action movie. That should not be happening. Like, I don't care. And the funny part is, even in action movies like John Wick, he actually struggles still in some ways. He's not like effortlessly taking enemies down for the most part, especially in hand-to-hand fights. So I guess it kind of it applies in some ways and doesn't. But Finn was a terrible knockoff of Kyle Katarn, poorly written. He's an absolute coward. I thought he had promise when he picked up the lightsaber, but unfortunately, he's just a nothing character. I would have rather had Kyle Katarn anyways. Poe is just a Han Solo knockoff, just with less personality. I don't really care about him as a character. Han at least had character development. Poe is just cocky and doesn't really change much. Last Jedi, an abomination. It makes Luke Skywalker a crying baby whiner who ran away and decided to be a hermit, but unlike Yoda, he gets beaten by Rey, and you know, she barely learns anything from him other than how not to be a Jedi. That's basically all Luke taught her. He's pathetic, he's terrible, he runs away from his problems. Yes, Yoda ran into exile. Of course he did that. You're going to point that out, but he did the exact same thing. Yeah, but he had the initiative and gumption to actually train Luke. Did he want to? No, but he did it anyways because he knew Obi-Wan saw something in this kid, and he knew that, you know, he could save the galaxy. And then the disrespect where freaking Luke throws his father's lightsaber, the one he redeemed, away, and the fact that he tries to kill Kylo for just having a dream with dark side stuff in it. He's like, oh, I'm just going to kill you now. Yet you spared your father, who is a genocidal maniac. Where's the connection here? You know, the amazing redemption story of Return of the Jedi was forgotten in this movie, clearly. And we wasted time with Rose, and freaking Snoke gets killed off in 5 seconds, so there was no reason to have him in the movie. He was just there for no reason at all. A Plagueis tease without him being Plagueis. He's pathetic. An embarrassing character and an overall embarrassing movie, in my opinion. Rise of Skywalker. Oh my gosh, this movie is terrible to me. Some people say it's the best of the sequels. I think it's a terrible knockoff of Dark Empire. I actually enjoyed Dark Empire. Sue me. It's kind of funny when EU writers make a Plagueis story. I mean, when EU writers bring Palpatine back, everyone freaks out. You know, everyone says, oh, this is terrible, this is unoriginal. But when Disney does it, it's okay. Like, what's the change here? In fact, I'd say Dark Empire is better because Luke's the one who defeats Palpatine in single combat. It's very symbolic in a good way. It's very much a passing of the torch from what Anakin was when he was a good guy to Luke as a good guy. Not saying Anakin was perfect, but the Skywalker bloodline continues on with an actual Skywalker who's the direct descendant of Anakin. In the case of Rey, she's just a nobody. She's a freaking Palpatine granddaughter. And it makes no sense. There are many questions that rises, like, who was Palpatine in love with? When did he have this kid? How did this happen? I'm sure there's some comic book that explains it, but it's so terrible I don't really care. The lightsaber fighting scenes in these movies are slow as molasses. It's like they were looking at the Obi-Wan versus Vader fight and saying that should be the way that the duels are in terms of speed and flow and execution. And I'm talking about the New Hope version, not the Revenge of the Sith one, which looks really good. See, the prequels had great lightsaber duels, great character moments, just like the original trilogy. I think those are amazing. I like them both, but Rise of Skywalker craps on all of that and says Kylo Ren dies to save Rey. You know, you can't have a Skywalker killing Palpatine. You have to have Rey doing it. And she's all of the Jedi now, which is stupid. Finn and Poe are just as useless as before, except all Finn does is yell Rey's name now. He grabs the lightsaber for 5 seconds so they can tease us again and say we suck. And it's bad. I prefer Dark Empire. I liked it. I listened to the audio drama. For me, Star Wars died with the first 6 movies, the prequels and the original trilogies. They're my favorite. The other thing that I like is the books and the comics and the video games. Force Unleashed, Dark Forces 2, Dark Forces 1, Jedi Academy, Jedi Knight. I think Jedi Outcasts and Jedi Academy and Dark Forces could have ultimately been a better sequel trilogy than this, along with Dark Empire. Force Unleashed, Darth Vader's apprentice, Star Killer, amazing character. Frickin' 2003 Clone Wars, in my opinion, was better than 2008 Clone Wars. But I just feel like the execution of these Disney properties is way more lacking than anything we had before. KOTOR, Darth Revan, incredible prequels. You had the amazing lightsaber duels. You had Ewan McGregor. You had Mace Windu. You had Yoda. Jedi all over. Jedi and Sith lightsaber duels that were perfectly executed and look powerful and fast and sleek and slick. Character development from Obi-Wan as he suffers watching the brother that he loved turn into the very thing he was afraid that he would become in Phantom Menace. Same with Yoda. Dooku being an amazing villain. Christopher Lee, enough said, great actor. Very intimidating, deep voice. Very elegant, very intimidating. I know I said intimidating twice. General Grievous, he was kind of fun. Notorious Jedi killer, especially in 2003 Clone Wars. He was amazing in that. Like, I guess what I'm saying is the quality of stories that we've had is way down with this property. I wish it would just come to an end. You know, I liked Star Wars Rebels. I liked the first 4 seasons of the Clone Wars, and then I just kind of checked out. The Anakin fanboys get to eat a nice meal, a nice 5-course dinner, as every single Jedi character is labeled a hypocrite for no reason other than for the fact that they disagreed with Ahsoka, who is now a perfect female character. Like, she used to be fun and charming and wisecracky and not this weird, wise Gandalf-like figure. That her archetype does not fit that. That should have been Luke's. The Ahsoka the White thing should have been the Luke the White thing. If they were going for Gandalf parallels, it would fit better. It'd be a story about legacy, but nope. Instead, we get Anakin's Padawan, who is added for the sake of having a kid appeal character. And that's not me saying I fully hate Ahsoka, but I feel like they did her wrong. They did her wrong the further the show went on. Rebels, I thought, was a fun show. Do I think it was this 10 out of 10 masterpiece? No. But I think it was the best thing that Disney's canon brought. Personally, I don't care about Mandalorian or Ahsoka, the show, or Obi-Wan. I feel like the show is... It makes me sad. I don't want to turn this into a rant video, but it's sad that such an iconic series has been butchered so much and made so terrible that people don't really care about it anymore. You know, it used to be one of the leading brands up there with Pokemon, but now it's in the dumps because Disney killed it. So good job, Disney. Well done. Nice clap there for killing a franchise that is so near and dear to my heart. All the iconic moments, all the iconic characters flushed down the toilet. So I'm going to stick with the expanded universe, the comics, the games, and the first 6 movies. And that's my advice to you as well, viewer. So we're going to talk about a different series now. So goodbye, Star Wars. Thanks, Kathleen Kennedy. Thanks, Dave Filoni. You killed it. The next on the list is Halo. And my goodness, did Halo fall from grace. Kind of in a similar case to Disney. The second 343 Industries touched Halo, it turned to crap. The only good thing they did was re-release Bungie's games on PC with mod tools, and I'm grateful for that, but I firmly think Halo's dead. Just because they changed their name to Halo Studios doesn't mean anything. They're still the same company from 2012 onward. Halo 1, 2, and 3 are legendary games. Halo 1's simplicity and mysterious feeling, and Master Chief's awesome one-liners, and the fact that we don't know much about him. Obviously, the books elaborate on him a lot, but in a lot of ways, he's kind of a mystery himself. Cortana's a sassy, fun character that I enjoy. She's very witty and has a nice banter with Chief. Captain Keyes, great character, noble guy, hero till the end. Halo 2 brought in the Arbiter, for crying out loud. Amazing character, humanized the Covenant, great personality, great voice. Half-Jaw, a side character, incredible character, great speeches. I'm talking about the white elite with the half-jaw. His name's Artas Vadum, weirdly enough, but he's iconic. Johnson, I mean, what more is there to say about Sergeant Johnson? Cigar toting, cigar chomping, gun toting, wisecracking, amazing character. Tartarus is a great villain. The Prophets, truth, mercy, and regret, like betraying the elites. It's a very emotional moment because the elites were devoted to these guys for the rest of their lives, and they did basically everything for them while the Prophets just kind of sat down and did nothing. And then at the end, the brutes replace the Prophets and they kill the elites, a lot of them. So the brutes are awesome. They're manipulating. They're very manipulative, very evil, brutish, as with the name. Freaking Halo 1, though, the reveal of the Flood, incredible. The Covenant, the first appearance of the Covenant. Elites are amazing, especially in Halo 2 and 3. Halo 3 did a very nice conclusion of the story where Chief finally activates this fake Halo, since the Halo can destroy all universes and all people and all beings. And it wraps up with Chief destroying the Flood and the Covenant and the ring, the Halo ring. But with Halo 2, though, the alliance between the humans and the elites kind of starts to build, and there's a trust and a very strong alliance between the two, because Johnson has to stop Tartarus, the brute, from activating Halo and killing everyone. And the scene where Arbiter and Johnson are working together, like Arbiter's in a freaking Banshee while Johnson's using a Scarab to open doors for him, and the music is swelling. Marty's incredible piano score is just, he's killing it musically. Halo 3, like I said, though, it's the finale of everything. It has a very final tone to it. Chief seemingly dies. Johnson dies an epic death. Arbiter survives after a close call. He kills the Prophet of Truth, completing his revenge story. Chief finally kills Guilty Spark in revenge for Sergeant Johnson. Guilty Spark is a solid character, but he's a villain from the first game. Very charming. What I'm trying to say is there are moments, and you witness the Flood. You witness the Flood evolving and starting to take over people's bodies by getting into people's chests. It's amazing. Halo is an amazing series. Reach had a depressing tone with some good character deaths. Specifically, George and Emil had the best deaths. Everyone else kind of died like chumps. Personally, I don't think Kat's death was that good. I get why they did it. Oh, anyone can die at any moment, but these are Spartans. They look like idiots if they get killed off super fast. They need to die a warrior's death. If it's a Marine, I get it. An ODST, I get it. It doesn't work for a Spartan, in my opinion. But ODST's characters, Halo 3 ODST, amazing. Wisecracking, fun, entertaining. Dutch is my favorite character. He quips a lot. I like Buck as well. I like Romeo. He's the sniper. He's kind of cocky. He's got a mouth on him, but he's entertaining. Mickey, he's funny. I like Alan Tudyk. I think he did a good job voicing the character. I just wish there was more to Mickey. Like, he had some funny lines too, but I would have wanted more from Mickey, to be honest. But Halo is an amazing series. Bungie just understood the FPS genre. In some ways, Bungie made FPS campaigns what they are today. Now, I do prefer COD 4s to Halo, but freaking Halo as a whole, though, I would say it's more consistent than COD was, and Halo 2 is up there with COD 4 for me. Halo 1 as well. 3 is good, but in some ways I think that the first two are still better. But 343 made Halo 4, and it just never felt the same since then. I mean, they tried to make Chief too overtly emotional and depressed all the time and disobey orders and all this stuff, and there was like gray morality in the UNSC. They really changed the tone of Halo. They really ruined it, in my opinion. Cortana being a villain was probably the dumbest decision you could ever make, to me, in Halo Infinite, and because in 4 she at least died with some dignity, though it was still very weird. Also, the changes to her design in 4, she's like, it just looks like a woman with body paint on at this point. It's a little disturbing to me. The Didact's an okay villain. It's weird that he's like a Sith Lord. The UNSC, there's no iconic characters left. Elites are all evil now. Like, you get to see Arbiter for a little bit in Halo 5, but I'm sorry. Halo Infinite has the most bare bones cast of all time. There's only 3 characters. Chief, he's great in this game. He's back to what he used to be, a mix of emotion and a mix of one-liners. But, the weapon is charming, but she ain't no Cortana. I do like what Jen Taylor did with the weapon. There is a cutesy charm to it. The pilot, not a fan. He's an annoying character. Get him out of here. He's terrified and scared all the time, and he wants to run away. And he never changes. He never develops. He constantly gets mad at Chief for putting him in dangerous situations. But I'm like, dude, that's your job. You're a Marine. You're a pilot. You get into the action or you get out of the freaking Marine Corps. He was embarrassing. I hated the pilot as a character, He's just comic relief. He's terrible. I can't stand him. I wish the brutes. I wish Atriox would have cut his head off. He's that bad. Or Eshram. Atriox and Eshram are good villains. They're honor-bound brutes. Atriox has this big presence to him. He reminds me of Tartarus, because Tartarus was pretty intimidating overall. So I liked the villains. Jaeger's not that good. He's the stealth elite. His concept is cool, being like a Spartan hunter, but he just it falls flat because he just dies pretty quickly. But the brutes are great in that. Brutes are amazingly executed, but the problem is there's only 3 good guys in this story. So I miss the Arbiter. I miss the elites as a whole. I miss the UNSC as a whole. I miss Lord Hood. I miss the UNSC feeling like a big organization that could take on the threats that they were actually, put up against. But it just, I don't know, it fell apart to me. Halo had a legendary story. It had amazing music. The hallway level design of 2 and the big open expanses of 1 and 3 kind of combining the styles at one point. Perfect level design. Reach had great level design, but the story had some execution issues. But I still think it was a very good story, and I'm glad the Covenant won in that instead of the good guys always winning. ODST was a fun romp through Mombasa as you're watching the city get destroyed from within. It felt very much like a stereotypical alien invasion, and it just worked perfectly. It's just sad. It's sad to see that amazing gunplay, that amazingly structured and scripted level design and dialogue and music and all that, and the vehicle combat too, all that is just gone. It's gone. Now it's just boring open world with barely any character or personality. All you're doing is unlocking weapons and grapple hooking around. Like, the open world should have never been in Halo. ODST was the only time it sort of worked, the whole hub based system. But I just prefer a mission select screen overall. So, goodbye, Halo. I love you so much. I wish you were still not in the hands of 343. I think Halo Studios isn't going to save Halo. All the Halo YouTubers will tell you that Halo's alive, but I don't think it is. It's dead. It'll never come back to what it used to be, which is a legendary franchise that I will always love. Praise the Lord it was made. I mean it. I'll miss you, Halo. Goodbye. Maybe if Bungie buys it again, you'll get better one day. Sly Cooper is a pretty obscure series, but I very much enjoyed it as a kid and now. It's a perfect trilogy. Notice I said trilogy. Sly 1 had some amazing linear level design mixed with a simplistic parkour system that you could pull off with ninja spire jumps, climbing up poles, all that stuff. It was a very well done traversal system. It was kind of a half stealth game, half stereotype platformer where you died in one hit. You had a lot of very fun unlockable abilities that you could get from clue bottles you found around the levels and open up safes. Each level had its own, not gimmick, each level had its own unique theme based upon the boss that you were fighting. And each time you started a level, you'd have these really cool looking comic book cutscenes that would describe what the villain's doing here, why they're doing what they're doing, and their backstory. Very cool looking, along with some quips from Sly and the gang in between. And then at the end, it grand finales it with a fun boss where every single boss was unique. None of them were reskinned or reused. Very enjoyable game. And Clockwork as a villain, phenomenal main villain. Cherry on top, icing on the cake. Very malevolent, very scary. You know, he's very much a conniving, clever villain who's been stalking the Coopers since the beginning of time, which is pretty scary. Because the Coopers are essentially this long family line that Sly is a part of. And they steal from criminals. And Sly was the last in the line, essentially. And his dad was murdered in front of him by the Fiendish Five, which is pretty dark for a game that's supposedly a kid's game. And he's traumatized for a long time until he meets his friends at the orphanage, Bentley and Murray. Bentley's the techie guy. He's very much a closed off kind of Oracle role from the Arkham games where he's the guy in the chair, while Murray's the van driver who's kind of a coward. And they basically form a new Cooper gang in the vein of the original Cooper gang, which we'll get into later. But it's a very fun game, fun characters. The villains are all memorable from Sir Rowley all the way to Panda King. They're all entertaining. But it's a great first game, and I wish the hallway level design wasn't completely abandoned, only because I could see it working in a spin-off, personally. It'd be very fun to see the level design of the linear stuff come back. But Sly 2 expanded the formula, gave you hub worlds and heists to pull off, where you'd essentially go from mission to mission to mission, preparing for the heist that you're going to do in the finale. And you would do recon, you would steal a tuxedo, you'd follow or tail a guy, you'd steal an object from him. A lot of these objectives would combine together in grand finale into an epic heist. The stealth was improved. You wouldn't instantly get spotted when going behind a guy. A lot of times they would have patrol patterns like a normal stealth game, so you could get behind him and take him out very easily. It's not like these aren't challenging games, I'll say, but they're not so easy that you could do it blindfolded. You could play as 3 characters this time. Sly, Bentley, and Murray. So every single character in the Cooper gang is now playable. Sly is his usual witty self. He's just a little bit kinder to his allies and subordinates that help him out. Bentley is still a guy in the chair, but he actually gets him in the field action, and his character is very fun. He's got a lot of crazy gadgets that can do insane stuff. Got sleep darts, bombs, all that. And then we have Murray. He's more the bruiser type. Like he fist fights people, and he's a completely different character. He's more confident, hilariously overconfident in some ways. He calls himself the Murray, like he's a superhero. He's got fists of flame. He's got all these. He can belly flop. He's very much a heavy character. He can pick up heavy objects and throw them at enemies, pick up enemies and throw them. Everyone's got their own unique pickpocketing thing. Bentley can just go behind people and take things out of the pockets of enemies. Sly uses his cane to pickpocket, and Murray shakes them, shaking the money out of them. And they're all very distinct in their play styles. Everyone's fun to play. None of them are bad. The story is a bit more personal in some ways to the whole gang instead of just Sly's story. It's very much everyone's. Sly is very much the leader in this game, and he kind of tries to mentor Bentley into being more than just a guy in the chair, and him and Murray banter off of each other. Sly and Bentley have a bit of a conflict of sorts in terms of they make fun of each other, and they're kind of a sort of passive aggressive in certain ways. But as the game goes on, there's a amazing chapter. This is my favorite chapter in the entire game. I think it's... So Sly and Murray essentially get captured by Neela, who works with Carmelita. So Carmelita is a police officer. She's Sly's love interest for the series, and she's an entertaining character. She's very hard-nosed cop who's very serious and dedicated to the point, but there's some flirty banter between the two, which is charming. But Neela's a evil, manipulative member of the Claw Gang, a new gang. But we're not going to go fully into the history of this stuff because that would make the video way longer than it needs to be. Murray and Sly get captured because of Neela, who's faking being a constable. And they're captured by and sent to the penitentiary made by the Contessa, the best villain in this entire game by a long shot. Bentley is alone, completely alone. He keep in mind, he's never done anything but be a guy in the chair for the entirety of the first game. And now he's just recently getting into the field, so he's nervous as crap. So Bentley has to break out Murray and Sly from this giant, creepy, Victorian, frickin' Dracula-looking castle penitentiary thing, where this woman, Spider-Woman, the Contessa, mind controls thieves to steal their loot. So Bentley goes over there, does some number crunching, or data crunching as he calls it. He locates them. It's in Prague, I forgot. But he locates them there. So he goes over there by himself, fending off the beasts in the jungle that he encounters until he makes it to Prague. And then he has to do multiple different heists. Like, he has to pull off multiple different objectives. So he has to eavesdrop on the Contessa to find out where Sly is. And then he has to freaking hack into a bunch of computers to rig a giant bullet train into smacking into Sly's jail cell. And once he does that, freaking Sly... So the best line happens right here in this entire game. Bentley breaks Sly out, and Sly has this little code name for Bentley. So Bentley has this code name called Wizard. Like, he calls himself the Wizard, but every time Sly would call him Lizard to make fun of him. And when Bentley breaks him out, Sly actually calls him Wizard. And my goodness, what a phenomenal way to close up that conflict arc between the two. And in that slight mentorship that Sly had for Bentley. Now Bentley's come into his own shoes as kind of the leader of the gang in a lot of ways. He comes up with the plans. He organizes the heists. He gets everybody ready, walks them through what they have to do in these really cool slideshow segments. But at the end of the game, he gets crippled, and it kind of sends him on a different character arc in the second game. So it's a pretty shocking moment, but it's very critical to his character development for Sly 3. Murray leaves the Cooper gang out of guilt, and Sly and Bentley basically have to pick up the slack and do everything. So Sly 3 starts with Sly and Bentley basically acting as vigilantes of sorts, non-law operatives, sort of helping out the cops, but also stealing the loot of the bad guys. They're trying to find a way to open the Cooper vault to find out what Sly's ancestors were hiding behind its steel vault doors. Bentley's banter is at its best in this game. Murray and Bentley have so much character development. Same with Sly. Sly is a completely different thief in this game. He's a lot more uplifting. He has a lot less snarky banter. Like, he still has some, but he's a lot more of a family man in this game. Bentley comes into his own in this game even more so. He is the official de facto leader of the Cooper gang. It even shows in his gameplay. His wheelchair is probably some of the best. Bentley is the best character to play as in this game. His wheelchair is so cool. The different types of bombs, the grapple cam that you can use. He has like a camera that he shoots onto walls that can grapple hook around, distract enemies, blow up. It's so amazing. His gadgets are so good. He can shrink people, mind control them, use sleep darts again. He pickpockets with this like magnet thing and goes behind enemies and can rip out the coins. He has freaking jet boosters on his rocket that can make him temporarily fly. He can shoot forward and turbo boost with it. He's so good as a character. Sly is as good as always. He has so many different abilities that mostly carry from Sly 2, I believe. Murray has a ball form that he can use where he can bounce up and down and get some sick air. Everyone's at their best in this game. Gameplay-wise, Sly's got his slick, thievy gadgets like his smoke bombs and his cool spin attack. And they expand the Cooper gang. That's the cool part about this game. They really take steps to make this Cooper gang big. You get Penelope, who's a RC expert, Bentley's love interest. You have Dimitri, who's from Sly 2. He's a villain who's a part of the Claw gang. He's very funny, flirty, entertaining lizard guy who says a bunch of weird slang. He says stuff like greasy sweet and fuzzy dice. And then you have the third member who's Panda King, who's freaking awesome. Like he's from Sly 1, and Sly and him have an intense rivalry, but they kind of have to work together. And he instantly kills enemies with his karate chops. And he uses fireworks to blow stuff up. He's very much like imagine if Po from Kung Fu Panda didn't have the derpy charm. He was more of a serious character. And I very much like Panda King. Panda King is the best member of the gang in this entire game. Not counting the originals. But it very much... This very much felt like the finale. There was a lot of themes in this where Sly really wants to get together with Carmelita. So at the end of the game, they defeat Dr. M, who was originally the Bentley. He was the Bentley of the original Cooper gang with Sly's father. Very intelligent, devious, scheming, very ruthless villain. I really like Dr. M. His personality is very entertaining. He's very evil. He poisons one of his guards just for the heck of it. He experiments on people for no reason. He hates the Coopers with a vengeance. But it's a very solid finale, very explosive, big. And the ending with Sly faking amnesia was pretty fun. So he's now essentially a cop who works with Carmelita. And then at the end, freaking Bentley is like spying on him. And then he notices Sly wink at him and he's like, "That sneaky devil." Oh, such a good freaking way to bookend the series. But then Sly 4 came out. So to give you some context, Sly 3 had some extremely entertaining humor. Bentley was so funny. Every line that came out of Bentley's freaking mouth everyone in my family laughed at. He was hilarious, entertaining. He had some very funny jokes, very tongue-in-cheek. Murray was also entertaining. He was also comic relief in a way. Stupid, but he also had a personality and kind of a heart of gold. But Sly 4 kind of crapped all over that, made the jokes very corny, hokey, childish, something you'd see in like PBS Kids. None of the characters act like themselves. The gameplay, the freaking loading screens take forever. La Paradox is a terrible villain who essentially is angry at the Cooper gang, despite the fact that he has a time machine so he could just travel back in time and just erase the Coopers from existence instead of erasing the Thievius Raccoonus, which is a book Sly was trying to recompile in Sly 1 that had all the secret moves that the Cooper gang created. But a lot of what made Sly entertaining and fun to play was stripped down. Freaking Sly in this game has no abilities at all for the most part. He just has abilities associated with costumes instead. The funniest part about that is in Sly 3 they had disguises that brought up funny mini games with where you had to like kind of Telltale style choose your responses to the characters. It was very funny and it was clever and it made it so you knew the characters a bit better. Well, the costumes just give you abilities. They're in place of Sly's abilities, and there's only 4. Keep in mind, I think there were like 12 abilities in the previous Sly games. Don't quote me on that, but there was a lot of them. Sly is severely stripped down so his ancestors can flourish gameplay-wise, because you go back in time in this game. It was a throwaway line in Sly 3 where Bentley's like, I'm building a time machine. But the 4th game took that literally and made an entire giant thing of it, giant time adventure. Not very good. There were like 4 time periods, I think, or like 5. You had ancient Japan, the Wild West, prehistoric times, medieval times, and kind of an Arabian Nights type thing. And let me tell you something here. The writing was awful. The villains were terrible. The only good one was the Grizz. He's like a giant bear that farts a lot and does weird ballerina tricks. Everyone else is so terribly written. He's at least like an entertaining character for the chapter he's in. He's a little goofy, but it was a nice little, pace breaker for all the intense, dark themes that the Sly games usually have. But every character's dumb like the Grizz, so they failed at doing that. It's sad. I love this franchise. They really Sanzaru games. So Sucker Punch made the first 3. Sanzaru continued it, and it fell apart. They forgot what made Sly good. They just made a Sly game to make a Sly 4. They didn't understand the character at all or his world or anything. Freaking Penelope betrays Bentley, even though she's his love interest and was a kind of a crucial part in his character development to boost his confidence. The freaking ancestors. Ryoichi's pretty cool to play as. He's got a enhanced ninja spire jump that can make him jump higher, and he's got a cool like Assassin's Creed style hood and 2 canes that he can use on enemies. Tennessee Kid Cooper has a revolver that basically enters Deadeye mode that slows down time and allows you to, you can kill 3 targets at once. Very entertaining character, fun to play as. His personality's terrible. His one-liners are awful. Basically every character's like that except Bentley. Bentley's the only character who acts the same. Everyone's completely different. Bob is terrible. He's just a boring version of Murray. Freaking Sir Galeth, all he can do is shoot a bow and arrow and do a weird crazy jump from from hook to hook. Essentially, he's not that fun. I honestly stopped playing the game more so during the medieval stage, and I just left it behind. I didn't really care. Penelope being the villain of that definitely didn't help. La Paradox was such a boring character that I just didn't give a crap about him. And the game ends on a cliffhanger. So, good job, Sanzaru. You killed it. Rainmaker was going to make this really cool looking movie, even though they replaced freaking Kevin Miller as Sly, which is dumb, but it looked entertaining enough. So, good job, Sanzaru. You killed Sly. It was very entertaining. A series very close to my heart and my friends' heart. So, great job, guys. Here's the thing. Franchises rise and fall. It's been that way since the beginning of franchises in general. It's the cycle of being a fan. A lot of times, old people get phased out, new people come in, new writers, new programmers, whatever it may be, different art direction. And unfortunately, that affects games more than people would think. And it's sad. But you're going to have to go through it as a fan. I don't care how good you think your franchise is now, you will go through it in some way. But I figured I'd mourn these amazing franchises that I love and wish could come back. So, God bless. Christ is King. And I hope you had a good day.